The barrel of the gun was steady. Her hands weren't shaking. Mine weren't either. My sister stood 2 feet away, finger curled on the trigger, eyes narrowed with something I once mistook for strength. "Sign the papers," she hissed, voice brittle with rage, "or else." Our father sat in the corner, silent, watching. His silence was louder than the gun. I looked at her, then at him, and I smiled. "Look at this," I whispered, sliding my phone across the table. Her eyes flicked down, she went pale. 5 seconds later, there was a loud bang. It wasn't always guns and threats. Emily used to climb into my bed when thunderstorms shook the windows. She'd clutch my hand and whisper, "Don't let go," and I never did. I carried her through heartbreaks, through failed jobs, through every mess she made of her life. Dad called her fragile, Mom called her sensitive. I called her my sister. But fragility curdles into envy, and envy, left to rot, turns into greed. When Mom died, the will split everything evenly: the house, the business shares, the inheritance. Fair, balanced. But fair wasn't enough for Emily. Not when Dad whispered into her ear, convincing her that I was stealing, manipulating, controlling. It wasn't long before the whispers became plans, and the plans became tonight. The first crack was small. I overheard them once, Dad and Emily in the study. His voice low, hers sharp. The words were fragments, signatures, power of attorney, make her do it. I walked away before they saw me, but I knew. Then the documents appeared, papers shoved across the table, demanding I transfer my share of the estate. The language was neat, polished, dripping with legal poison. I refused. That's when the text messages started. Emily's tone shifting from pleading to threats. Dad's silence, his refusal to intervene, said more than his words ever could. And then, tonight, when they cornered me in the old dining room, gun in hand, papers spread across the table like a ritual sacrifice. I could have panicked, I could have begged, but instead I remembered the camera. The tiny lens I'd installed in the chandelier 2 weeks earlier, after that overheard conversation. It recorded everything, every threat, every whisper, every loaded weapon pointed at my chest. And not just recorded, it streamed, straight to a secure drive, straight to my lawyer, straight to the police. So when Emily raised that gun, thinking power was finally hers, I felt calm. I didn't need to fight her strength. I only needed to show her the truth. The plan was simple. 1. Evidence. Every threat she texted, every document she tried to shove into my hands, every word Dad whispered, I had it all, backed up. 2. Exposure. The moment she pulled that gun, the recording went live. A silent witness they couldn't silence. 3. Timing. I waited until she thought she had me trapped, until she believed the fear would force my hand. That's when I slid the phone across the table. On the screen, a live feed of her, gun raised, face twisted, and a blinking red light in the corner, recording. Her face drained. The color bled out like ink and water. "What is this?" she stammered. I leaned back, calm. Insurance. Dad shifted in his chair, finally speaking, his voice low, venomous. "You wouldn't." I met his eyes. I already did. The bang that followed wasn't the trigger. It was the front door. Police boots hitting hardwood. Voices shouting commands. Guns drawn, not at me, but at her. Emily froze, weapon still in hand. The officers moved fast, disarming her, shoving her to the ground. Dad's protest died in his throat when they read out the charges. Assault, coercion, conspiracy. And me? I didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't smile this time. I just watched. Watched as the people who had once been my protectors realized they had been outplayed, step by step, by the very person they thought was weak. Later, when the house was empty and quiet again, I sat alone at the table. The papers were still there, unsigned. The pen lay beside them, useless. I thought about Emily's face when she saw the feed, the moment the illusion of power cracked. And I thought about Dad's silence, how he had watched me my whole life, not as a daughter, but as a tool. Tonight, I became something else. Not a tool, not a victim, not a pawn in their game. I became the one holding the board. They wanted my signature. They got my signature move instead. And as I walked away, leaving the papers behind, only one thought echoed in my mind. They pointed a gun at me to take everything, but in the end, it was me who pulled the trigger.